bitches go.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Looks like Canelo versus Sergey Kovalev is nearly a done deal, waiting to be finalized and announced to the public. And it's on the same night as another major fight. We unpacked. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, it looks like Canelo's about to fight Sergey Kovalev. This is really, if you follow the channel, not a big shocker, because this was a fight they were trying to get across the line before Kovalev fought Anthony Yarde, which was his mandatory. Now, they weren't Golden Boy for whatever reason, even though despite knowing Canelo wants to fight typically 2 times a year. May, Cinco de Mayo weekend, and Mexican Independence Day weekend. Now, this weekend is Mexican Independence Day weekend. Canelo did fight Cinco de Mayo weekend against Danny Jacobs. Unification, he won the fight. And he was supposed to fight in September, but now you have Tyson Fury versus Otto Wallen because Canelo and Golden Boy couldn't facilitate an opponent that would appease DAZN and somebody that they wanted to fight. They threw out names like Caleb Smith and Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, both of which are DAZN fighters, but obviously they didn't want to fight him. Now they have this, idea out of nowhere to move up weight classes to fight Kovalev. So to me, I think this is a ploy, and we'll get more into it. I think this is a strategic cherry pick. Like, not saying Kovalev has no danger, because as I mentioned, there is some danger. Anytime you're moving up, there's danger. However, I think they like Canelo, his skill set. Even though he's fighting a bigger guy, they would rather fight that style of bigger guy than the style of bigger guys that are prevalent from 160 to 175, not named Kovalev. For example, out of all the fighters from 160, 168, and 175 that really seem feasible for Canelo to face, Kovalev is the one that's not undefeated. For example, Jermall Charlo is a suitable fight and a champion at 160. He is undefeated. This is despite who you think will win in anything. I'm just making a simple point. Charlo's undefeated. Demetrius Boo Boo is undefeated. Caleb Smith at 168 won the Ali trophy and beat George Groves. He's undefeated, and he's like 6'4.5", 6'5", right? You look at guys at 68 like David Benavidez undefeated. Caleb Plant undefeated, right? Go up to 75. The other champions, Artur Beterbiev, Alexander Volstik, Dmitry Bivol, these are all undefeated fighters. Now, it's boxing. Guys have losses. So please don't take what I say and just run with it. Stick around to hear the message. It's not just about fighting undefeated fighters, but it happens to be a lot of, I think, great fights that Canelo could fight with reasonable or very good competition that would be able to sell. And it happens, it's not just that they're undefeated. It just so happens that a lot of these guys are young, strong, hungry, in prime, and stylistically they have more of a gel with Canelo's style. Charlo versus Canelo is easily sellable, especially in Texas. Canelo has a fan base there, and Jermall Charlo is from there, right? Demetrius Andrade, another interesting clash of styles. Demetrius Andrade doesn't just fight one way. Sometimes he brawls, sometimes he boxes, sometimes he uses legs, sometimes he comes out like almost a wild man. If you look at his fight, if you actually study boxing, look at Demetrius Andrade versus his last opponent, Mad Selesky. He got a first round knockdown, and he came out and he was like putting a lot into his punches. Willie Nelson fight. Andre came out extremely aggressive because he was in there with the taller fighter and southpaw, right? So these are all, it doesn't just stop at 160. There's other fights even at 160, like Golovkin, who, you know, we know he wants a fight. He's not undefeated, but in some people's eyes, he is undefeated, you know, because he only has one loss, and that's to Canelo. And I thought Canelo won the second fight, you know. I thought he lost the first fight, but I thought he won the second fight. It was good. It was close, stuff like that. So it doesn't, to me, this fight with Kovalev, it's cool, but it doesn't really make sense to bypass all of the young, youthful, fresher competition and overlook all them guys. Some of the guys like Caleb Smith, he said, I would love to fight Canelo. Golden Boy called out Caleb Smith, right? He's undefeated. He has a whole country to represent him. He comes from a fight family, just like Canelo. Caleb Smith, his brothers fight just like Canelo's brothers fight too, you know, and it's a fight. Who wouldn't want to see Canelo in the UK? So there's a ton of different options. David Benavidez, if he beats Anthony Durrell, boom. You know, he had a mishap with the cocaine, failed drug test. But if he beats Anthony Durrell, especially if he impresses, is on a major card with Errol Spence and Sean Porter, which is, you know, that alone, the main event and the co-feature, that could have been its own main event. David Benavidez versus the Anthony Durrell title fight. So it's a very good card. Shout out to Fox pay-per-view for that. But that would be a big fight. Arizona, Texas, California, you know, they're from Arizona, the Benavidez brothers. That would be a big fight. And I believe Benavidez is talked about being open to fight Canelo. So to me, it's really easy to see what they are doing. And what they are doing is trying to put Canelo in with a fighter who we have a lot of data on. We know his strengths. We know Kovalev is a good fighter. You know, he's killed a person in the ring, these types of things. But we also know what he's vulnerable at. We've also seen him where he left, you know, some to be desired. People question his heart, those types of things. So Andre Ward, to me, is the first guy that really took it to Kovalev and, you know, kind of exposed all of these flaws in one night, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, Kovalev, man, he got to work on some things. You know, it was Andre Ward that kind of laid out that blueprint. So my thing is this: if I could see this, right? If I could see all this stuff, then how come people don't believe what I'm saying and believe that Canelo's team can't see this? If I could see that Kovalev has stamina issues, Canelo does too, you know, for the record, but I could see Kovalev has stamina issues. Kovalev is 36. Kovalev got hurt in his last fight. He got hurt in the Ward second fight, probably the first fight too, if I'm being honest. There's different severities of being hurt. In the first fight, I think he was getting hurt to the body shots, but you know, he pushed himself, willed himself through, had the early knockdown, so it wasn't as noticeable as the second fight. He got hurt in the Leader Alvarez fight. He got dropped by Blake Caparello. So I've watched Kovalev's whole career, and we've seen it. Jean Pascal in the first fight with Kovalev, I believe, hurt him as well. You just got to have a trained eye and know what you're looking for. You know, there's different severities. I'm not saying Kovalev was hurt in the Pascal fight where he was almost on his way out, anything like that extreme, but he was hurt he was hurt. Just, that's it. He was hurt, period. You know, but at the time he's undefeated and had all the confidence in the world, that type of stuff. So just kind of a weird pairing for Canelo Kovalev. Again, there's some danger there because Kovalev can fight, he can box, but I just think stylistically, Canelo's probably going to be the favorite. I'm pretty sure he will be the favorite. You look at Canelo right here. I don't know how much he weighs, but Canelo, his weight is a little bit deceptive. He cuts weight. Right now, he don't look. He's going to be shorter than Kovalev for sure, but he's not probably far off from Kovalev. Just look at him. So again, I don't know how much he weighs in this, but people, they want you to think that Canelo's like a 47 pounder, but he's not. Look how big he looks. You know what I'm saying? So I don't believe that. I don't think this is as they're casting it as like it's this huge weight class jump, but I don't think that's the case. First of all, I think Canelo has to cut a lot of weight. You know what I'm saying? A good amount of weight. Especially, I don't even know towards the end. I don't even know how he's making 54. To be honest, you know, his walking around weight. So it's not going to be as far off. And then they're trying to bill it as the, you know, a two. This is the same thing they did with Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence. They're trying to bill it as a 2 weight class jump, but it's not entirely true if you know the parameters. Yes, his last fight against Danny Jacobs was at 160. So from that particular fight, it's a 2 weight class jump. However, what they're not mentioning in this weight class jump is that Canelo has more than one fight higher than 160. He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at 164.5, and he did that coming off of the Liam Smith fight at 154. So he was able to go from 154 to 164.5, which is like almost 11 pounds, in one fell swoop to fight a bigger Julio Cesar Chavez. Julio Cesar Chavez, even though I think, you know, they purposely put him on a catch weight and rehydration clause, blah, blah, blah. He's taller than Kovalev. He's like 6'2.5". You get what I'm saying? And in one fell swoop, Canelo went from 154 to 164.5. So people keep acting like Canelo's this tiny guy. Yeah, short wise, he's not as tall as, you know, some of these guys. But on top of that, he fought Golovkin, who's bigger. Golovkin 5'10.5", 5'11", something right around there. And hits hard. They said Golovkin spars with bigger guys, and he had 24 rounds with him. And we heard from Abel Sanchez. I wasn't there, but they said and stated, Abel Sanchez said he had Kovalev in his camp before. You know, I don't know who was training him and all that stuff at that time, but Abel Sanchez said Triple G hurt Kovalev, you know, to the body. Triple G was like, you know, nearly stopped him or some shit like that. So they're trying to make it like Canelo. First of all, Canelo's a smart fighter. You know, he thinks, he has a defense, he moves his head, and, you know, good upper body movement. He got to work on his stamina, but he's a cerebral thinking fighter. He's a boxer puncher, you know, with good ring IQ. So to me, I just don't think this fight is going to be Kovalev. We'll see if he can prove me wrong, but I definitely think Canelo's going to be the favorite. You got to look at it. Like I said, Canelo went from 54 to 164.5. So he came all the way from 54 and fought a 6'2.5" Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And he did it and beat the shit out of Chavez Jr. and won every single round. So him moving up 2 weight class, it's not really entirely true. Danny Jacobs was supposed to adhere to a rehydration clause type deal, and he blew it off. Eddie Hearn said he'll pay it. I don't know if they charged him or whatever, but he ended up blowing it off. Danny Jacobs is a big dude. He said he's moving up to 68. So Danny Jacobs is 6'1", you know, 6'1.5", somewhere around there. Plus he blew off the rehydration clause, and Canelo still holds a victory over him. Rocky Fielding was 6'3" at 168, you know. Now, Kovalev is, you know, he's not insanely tall. He's probably like a cool 6'2". But it just, like I said, Canelo's fought bigger guys. He's been fighting bigger guys, you know, different severities. Kovalev, definitely a good fighter. And the other thing I fear personally is I think they're going to put a rehydration clause on Canelo. I really do. I mean, both on Canelo and Kovalev. I think they're going to put a rehydration clause. A lot of people are saying that they're going to fight at a catch weight. If they're fighting for Kovalev's belt, which if they're not, that's stupid. You know, so I can imagine they're fighting for his belt. It has to be at 175 at least, you know, because to be eligible for the belt, I don't think they can even fight at 168.5 or something crazy. So Canelo does have to move up to 175, so I give him credit for that. But, you know, we've just seen it with Golden Boy and Team Canelo, and with the strategies and the weight stipulations. We've already seen all of this. So if I would, as a betting man, I would see, look at Canelo. That's what I'm saying. You guys are acting like Canelo's tiny. Look at Canelo. You know, as a betting man, I would most likely assume, you know, and if I'm wrong this is just my forecast. This is my prediction. But if I'm wrong and new information comes out that where my prediction is wrong, then I'm gonna tell you guys on my channel. That's how we do new media. But from my estimation, based on patterns in history, I definitely think they're going to put Sergey Kovalev on a rehydration clause. They can't fight him at a catchweight to fight for his title, but then they could tap him out. And the downside to that is if Kovalev has been fighting at around this weight since the amateurs, and he's 36, he has a quick turnaround, which we'll talk about more, because he just fought Anthony Yarde and was in a tough fight. It wasn't like this easy ass fight. You know, he did get the stoppage and stuff, but he had to work for it. You know, Anthony Yarde did better than I expected him to. I picked Kovalev to win, and I said even stoppage, a late stoppage, and that's exactly what it was. So my prediction was dead on, but Yarde did even better than I thought, given the jump up in caliber. He went from, you know, domestic level British guys and shit like that to Kovalev. Now the difference with Canelo is different because he fought the best fighter of this generation, Floyd Mayweather. So experience-wise, Canelo's no Anthony Yarde. Canelo still does traditional sparring and, you know, has a really good team with the Reynosos and stuff like that. And Anthony Yarde, he's doing like this unconventional, we don't spar, and I only spar my trainer and different shit. Plus, he was inexperienced. Canelo's not inexperienced. Like I said, Canelo has 24 rounds with Golovkin, an Olympic silver medalist. Floyd's a bronze medalist and, you know, the best fighter of this generation. He fought Cotto, who's a legend, Hall of Famer, you know, those types of things. So that's the difference between Canelo and Yarde. So I don't know. That's just how I see it. So I don't think Canelo is as small as people are thinking. And beyond that, he's already fought over 160 more than one time. And he's fought bigger guys. He fought 164.5 coming from 54 against Chavez. And then after that, he fought for Rocky Fielding's little paper title at 168. So it's not really a 2 weight class jump to me, based on all things considered. You get what I'm saying? So that's that. Now let's talk about the other order of business. It's disappointing to me. We Unpack coming to you live. You know, I got to unpack this. We just talk about all the little nuanced things and stuff. So we're going to keep unpacking this. And this is more of what you guys seen in the title. My thing is this. I'm disappointed that Canelo for 2 consecutive years has failed to fight on the dates that he strived so hard to get. Because normally what happens is you have to beat the man to become the man. Like Highlander, there could be only one. You beat this guy and then you kind of inherit that clout, you know, that momentum. You get those clout tokens. Canelo, based on his popularity, his, you know, what he had done to the point and the ability to fight and scrap, Canelo was the guy that some people were even pegging to be the future and beat Mayweather, right? And he had the opportunity. He had been calling out. He said he was ambitious and, you know, ready for Floyd, and he'd been calling him out. Finally gets the opportunity. Floyd like, all right, this kid's popular. We can make some money here. Let me go ahead and school him. Floyd did that. That's exactly what he did. He schooled him. Only person that thought the fight was close was goddamn CJ Ross, and she resigned after that because she knows that was some trash. That was some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Canelo has since improved and, you know, bounced back. He has some arguable victories. You know, some people, the Edeslandi Lara and Triple G are the ones that really stick out to me, where he, you know, he arguably has more than one loss, but whatever. They gave it to him. But Canelo didn't beat Floyd after all this talk about beating Floyd and calling him out. Then he finally gets Floyd, doesn't beat him, whatever. So as long as Floyd was fighting, he beat the younger guy, and he took the Mexican dates because that's the dates he had been fighting on. He beat De La Hoya to kind of inherit the golden boy or the cash cow status. Canelo tried, came up short, and then had to learn. So Canelo couldn't son Mayweather in that regard. Then Floyd Mayweather, father time kicks in. Floyd decides to retire. He's like, man, 50-0, whatever. I've done everything I could do, blah, blah, blah. So by default, Canelo becomes the man. He's of Mexican heritage. He's from Mexico, Guadalajara, and he's the man in boxing. You know, there's guys like Anthony Joshua, but I think Canelo is the biggest star when Floyd wasn't fighting. Cotto, He beat him, and then Cotto ended up retiring, to a loss to Saddam Ali. So Pacquiao at that time, Pacquiao just did some good shit recently, Broner and Keith Thurman victories. But at that time, when Floyd retired and stuff, Pacquiao, I think, maybe lost to Jeff Horn and shit like that. So it was like looking like the Canelo show. By default, Canelo became, and Canelo would do in interviews, say in interviews like, man, this date is very important to me and my people, and I'm prideful, and these are my dates. And Golden Boy knew this, the fans knew this. Canelo likes to fight in those 2 dates. So I'm not trying to cry over spilt milk, but it's really weird that Canelo and his team couldn't get it together, and they drug their feet so long where they tried to get Kovalev, but then the rumors came out that Kovalev didn't like the pay, and he was feeling shortchanged and lowballed and stuff like that. And then Canelo, for the second year in a row, and I'll get to that, for the second year in a row. See, look, someone put, can't beat Mayweather randomly. That's funny. But for the second year in a row, Canelo doesn't fulfill one of the Mexican dates that he, in interviews, would say, oh, these dates are so important to me. Muy importante. And, these are my dates, and I'm Mexican, and these are the Mexican dates, and I'm taking it back. And he riled up La Raza and claimed these dates. But then for the last 2 years, now his team couldn't get the Kovalev fight over the line or get an acceptable opponent that DAZN would agree to. So now they're trying to fight November 2nd, which is the other part that you guys see in the title, and we'll get to that. And before that, he failed with clenbuterol in his system. 2 tests, February 17th and February 20th. He had this clenbuterol in his system or whatever. And as a result, he had a withdrawal from the Gennady Golovkin anticipated, immediate rematch. It was supposed to be an immediate rematch, but Golovkin, he didn't have to fight Vanes Martirosyan. He could have fought Sergey Derevyanchenko, but he ended up fighting Vanes Martirosyan. And you can't really blame him for wanting to continue fighting, because he was supposed to be fighting the man you see on the screen, Canelo, but Canelo failed a drug test. Now, I'm not going to get into the drug test shit too much. You guys can believe whatever you want. If you think it was a cover up and he's dirty, or if you think he's innocent and it was the tainted meat, whatever. I'm not even here to argue that. But all I know is for 2 years in a row, after clamoring and constantly saying that you wanted the Mexican dates, for the second year in a row, you do not deliver on one of those dates. Now, the clenbuterol thing, depending on what you feel is the truth and what happened there, that's one thing. But this was totally avoidable. Golden Boy knew that Canelo wanted to fight in May and September. These are big, historic fight dates for the boxing public. Now we got to watch Tyson Fury fight a guy that we really don't want to see him fight, autocorrect or auto wildin', and dress up like Lucha Libre and wear these Rey Mysterio masks, and him and Bob Arum talking about how they're half Mexican. And then that's why Andy Ruiz kind of took a shot at him, like, what are you talking about? You're not Mexican. What do you represent who you really are. Like, you don't have to fake the funk. You know what I'm saying? And these were supposed to be the dates that were so meaningful to Canelo. You know what I'm saying? And for the second year in a row, Canelo has not been able to fulfill what a standard that he set forth, and that he said he wanted to continue that tradition. So I take offense to that, because like I said, they got a couple fights on this week, but none is as big as if Canelo was fighting Kovalev on Mexican Independence Day weekend. That would be clearly the biggest thing. Canelo versus Kovalev, T-Mobile Arena. Devin Haney's fighting an eliminator. Ryan Garcia's fighting Usher's fighter. I didn't even know Usher managed fighters, to be honest. Usher, gotta let it burn when you say that you love. I didn't even know he was managing fighters. But this all falls on Golden Boy, Canelo, and DAZN. I think it's a bad look, because again, the Tyson Fury fight is not nearly as big as Canelo Kovalev. And for me, I would be more up for Canelo Kovalev if it wasn't competing, which is the other part you see in my title, if it wasn't competing with another fight, a major fight card and a major main event on the same exact night, which is UFC 244, which brings me into my main point for this video, which is we're going to unpack that. Now, because Golden Boy like pussyfooted around and couldn't fight on the Mexican dates that Canelo told the whole world he wants to fight on these particular days because it means so much. And, you know, Canelo's, we know he's prideful. He's even went as far as saying he don't want to fight a Mexican fighter that represents the same flag as him, you know? So we know he's prideful and stuff. And this is just complete negligence, because it would have been better for Canelo to fight for the Mayan belt. Like I said, the WBC Mayan belt, which is about Mexican heritage, the Mayans and shit. Just watch Apocalypto, you know, to give you a quick overview. But the Mayans were badass, you know? And you have Tyson Fury, a British gypsy from the UK, and a guy from Sweden fighting for the Mayan belt, and Jaime Munguia fighting whoever for the Mayan belt. So to me, that's a bad look for DAZN. It's a bad look for Canelo and Golden Boy, because I think this date was supposed to, it's a big week for boxing. It's a big weekend for boxing. The other thing is, like I said, what you see in the title, the thing that I don't understand is the logic, the game planning of DAZN. They are going head to head, as you guys can see, with UFC 244. Look at the date. Madison Square Garden, a welterweight main event. Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz. That is bad business, bro. Now, Canelo Kovalev, I think, is going to happen on a different coast, so at least they're not both in New York. But still, why would you compete with this fight? Now, you guys that have followed my channel know I am 1,000%, and this is no diss, this is just actual facts, my personal taste, 1,000% more of a boxing fan than other sports, or definitely UFC. You know what I'm saying? Like, if boxing's on, if there's a great boxing card and a great UFC card the same night, you know what I'm gonna watch. But right here, all things considered, me personally, and this is one of those rarities, I am more interested in Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz than I am Canelo versus Kovalev, for various reasons. And that's not a good look, because again, I'm a boxing fan. So all this could have been avoided had Golden Boy delivered for Canelo, or his team or whatever, delivered the Kovalev fight this weekend. You know, he could have fought on the Mexican dates, which made more sense with tradition and stuff, and you wouldn't be competing with this. But this is what's happening. I don't know if you guys remember, I told you, new media. You guys might not believe it. You might think I'm just like, you know, selling wolf tickets and shit. But people listen to the content. They know. Because if you guys remember, they had Joshua fighting Andy Ruiz on June 1st. And they had Canelo fighting May 5th. And in my videos, I told you, I said, that's weird. And I have a calendar so you guys can see. Make sure you guys smash the like button. I told you, I said, that's weird, since DAZN, I don't anticipate everybody is going to do the $100 prepaid for a year type of deal, especially since DAZN's new and there's a lot of things that people have to pay for. They got a new iPhone 11 Pro coming out, all these types of things. So a lot of people aren't going to do that bullshit. So they would have to do the month to month. But the mistake that DAZN, the strategy is so crazy to me. The mistake that DAZN made was they scheduled, or they had Joshua, their biggest star, and Canelo, their biggest stars, you know, the two biggest stars on DAZN, fighting within 30 days of each other. So I brought that up. That was something I easily seen in my videos, and I brought up multiple times, right? So Canelo, here's just to give you guys an example. Canelo fought Cinco de Mayo this year, May 5th. So Joshua fought on June 1st. So as you guys can see, you could have bought DAZN on May 1st, which would have got you the final press conference. You know, probably like a media day, the final press conference, the weigh-in on Friday, and then the Canelo Jacobs fight, unification. Oh, actually, it was May 4th, actually. So you could have did it a little bit earlier. But irregardless, basically Tuesday, you could have got the grand arrivals. You could have had from May 1st set up and sign up for $19.99. That's the new DAZN prices. and canceled it, and you still would have been able to see all of Joshua's fight week. This is something I mentioned. You guys see it. Hold on. You know what? I'll just do it like this so you guys can see. Okay. Once again, let's recap. Canelo fought here on the 4th, Cinco de Mayo weekend. You could have, on the 1st, paid for a DAZN subscription, $19.99. Then at that point, you can cancel it at any time, and it won't run out until the 1st of the next month. So you would have been able to have DAZN from here all the way to June 1st when Joshua fought Ruiz. So to me, that was dumb because you allow your customers to be able to double dip, if you will, and get 2 fights for the price of 1. So it's basically like they were getting under. They raised. This is how like little thought was put into this. In my opinion, DAZN raised their price point 100% from $9.99 to $19.99. I'm not talking about the prepackaged bullshit. I'm talking about the single month-to-month rate. They raised it by a value of 100%. They doubled it. One $9.99 payment for 30 days, and then they doubled it to $19.99. But then they scheduled their fight within 30 days of each other. So in actuality, even with the price hike, you could game the system, which isn't really it's perfectly legal. It's not like you're illegally streaming or something. And you would have got to watch the Canelo fight, and you would have got to watch Joshua Ruiz in the same 30-day cycle, and you would have only had to pay $19.99. So what was the point of the price hike? That's basically like paying $9.99 and then $9.99, you know, the former price point. Made no sense. I talked about that. I didn't see nobody else talking about that, but I talked about it on my channel. Now they have the same kind of combination, but they got hip to it, and now they're trying to discourage against that. They have Canelo fighting first, and then shortly after, Joshua's fighting first. So now what they've done, and just so you guys can see, November, December, they're talking about Canelo fighting November 2nd. So if you get $19.99, you pay $19.99 for a month. That's going to last until December 2nd, you know, a day before my sister's birthday. So Joshua's not fighting until that Saturday. So now they're trying to force you into, which is what I talked about, you know, and it makes more business sense. So you can capture two $20, you know, one second, hold on. So you can capture two $20 instead of being able to watch Canelo versus Kovalev and then Joshua Ruiz too, which is now an anticipated fight under the same billing cycle. So they've corrected the problem that I previously mentioned. So first of all, I don't understand why a company that has $1 billion a year didn't see that the first time, you know. But then now they've corrected the problem, which is great for a business. And it's not necessarily great for fans, but it's great for the business, and it makes more sense for the business. So now if you watch Canelo Kovalev, it's on the 2nd of November, and then your subscription is going to run out December 2nd. So you wouldn't be able to watch Joshua Ruiz too under one $19.99 payment. So it addresses that. But here's but wait, there's more. This is the part that doesn't make sense. In doing that, you know, because Wilder's fighting later that month, you know, and there's a couple other fights in November. So they chose November 2nd, but then you're going head to head with a big UFC card. You know, so I really personally don't understand the strategy. I feel DAZN is constantly putting on some of their fights anticipated or not as anticipated, and they're colliding with a bomb PBC fight that people are checking for, or a UFC card that's a major card, or Top Rank in some instances, or like when Juan Francisco Gallo Estrada fought Sor Rungvisai in a rematch on DAZN. They did it the weekend that the Avengers Endgame came out, which is a popular, it grossed all these records, did $1 billion in a couple of days and shit at the box office, and it was a 3-hour movie. I just don't feel like these decisions have much thought put into them. DAZN said they're coming to save the game, and you know, boxing is back and pay-per-view's dead and shit like that. And that's cool. Me intrigued. See, look at this. People putting this is just here's what they think about you. This Canelo Kovalev fight doesn't have me intrigued whatsoever. Part of me doesn't even want it to happen. Weird. That's what I'm saying. See, I'm glad I'm not alone. You know? Someone's talking about Canelo Charlo, but see, this shit is funny. The thing is this: no, why Charlo don't have nothing? Charlo fighting Hogan. What does that have to do with Canelo? Canelo's supposed to be the face of boxing. Nobody said Charlo was the #1 face of boxing and the biggest draw. See, people be having the worst strawman arguments. It's so funny. The reason this is Canelo has the pressure on his back. He's the face of boxing. He's the one that Golden Boy says is the biggest star in boxing. You know, I just don't think it's putting him in a position to really win, you know, by having him compete and have to carry a Kovalev card. And see, the other thing is, like I said, timing. Kovalev's on a quick ass turnaround. He just fought Anthony Yard. Like, let me check. When was the Anthony Yard fight? I almost thought this was a live stream. I know it was recently, so we'll look at a calendar. So they're going to have to announce this and get into camp like ASAP. You know, Kovalev doesn't really have too much of a break. And I know some people are just going to say, oh, yeah, you know, if he's signing the contract, then he's signing the contract. But of course he's going to sign the contract. He's probably going to retire soon. You get what I'm saying? All right. So he fought Anthony Yard August 24th. So he just fought. So 24th, let me not zoom in. 1 week, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he has 9 weeks, which is like a standard training camp. And then the 10th week, I don't count the 10th week because it's not really 10 weeks because the 10th week is the second, you know. So 9.5 weeks, you're already into your fight week. So it's literally 9 weeks. I'm telling you, this year's been going by pretty fast. It's literally 9 weeks away. So, and they haven't even fully announced the fight. We just, you know, industry sources say it's next. So it's pretty much happening next, but they haven't even did a press conference. They got to get this shit on the road. Cause like I said, time is money. See, Canelo looks kind of big right here. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. The Canelo Kovalev, I would prefer it to Canelo versus Amir Khan, obviously, Liam Smith, Canelo versus guys like Rocky Fielding, Triple G versus Vanes, Triple G versus Steve Rose. I'm not saying it's that type of fight, but I just don't see the logic in putting him, you know, in front of UFC 244, minimal time to promote. Like, and this is the thing, UFC already announced their fight. I just showed you. UFC, they've already started promoting. This is already, you know, 53 days, but who's counting? You know, they already got it going. And Masvidal is coming off great wins. Darren Till knockout, crazy knockout versus Ben Askren, set a UFC record. Nate Diaz looked really good versus Pettis, a long-awaited kind of grudge match. They both are coming off good wins. Kovalev's coming off of a good win, but he was also pushed to the brink and tested and nearly stopped by a guy who most people think is inexperienced. So I see why Kovalev is the underdog and Canelo is the favorite here, because Canelo, he's faster. Even though he's shorter, he's still going to be faster. He has the higher ring IQ. I would say he has more momentum, less mileage. We never seen Canelo get knocked down and stopped and shit like we've seen Kovalev. Keep this in mind. Kovalev was literally a few fights removed from people saying it's over for him. I just want you guys to understand that. Like I said on my show, Unpacked, we talk about everything. Kovalev is a good fighter, very good resume, and you know, he had a good performance, but you can't forget this. He fought an inexperienced guy. Canelo's not inexperienced. He fought an 18-0 guy in Anthony Yard, and he avenged Eleider Alvarez fight, right? Which is good. That's good for him. But this fight, he lost by knockout, and he got knocked down 3 times, right? So he's literally, that's another reason why it's not, he's literally 2 fights removed, and he has a quick turnaround. He's 36. He's 2 fights removed from being knocked out. And then before that, he was fighting like less than competition, Igor Mikhelkin, and then he fought for a vacant belt to become a champion again against Vyacheslav Shabransky. And then before that, he took back-to-back L's to Andre Ward. So if you do the math, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In his last 7 fights, he lost 1, 2, 3. He lost 3 of his last 7 fights. And the best names that he did fight were Anthony Yarde and Eleider Alvarez. And the other victories were Igor Mikhelkin. Like, who the fuck is this? Who is that? That's the dude from the Scream movie. Remember the dude that worked at Blockbuster? I forgot. Jamie Kennedy. Who the fuck is this? You get what I'm saying? 10 knockouts, 40%. You know, he was winning like that. And he beat Shabransky, who Canelo spars with. And Curtis Stevens and Shabransky, I think, were in the Canelo camp. And Shabransky got knocked out by Sullivan Barrera. So, you know, I think it's a tough ask to compete with UFC 244. And I understand they had to space it out to force people to be on 2 billing cycles to get the Joshua Ruiz, because that's an anticipated fight based on how the first fight played out and the history that Ruiz made. But the date just seems weird. Like, why not do it in October? You know, why not Canelo Kovalev? I guess the turnaround would have been too quick for him. I don't know. It just, the bottom line, it doesn't seem planned out. It doesn't seem mapped. It's like it's just being rushed and put together. And that's how it's been with DAZN. Like, it just don't feel like they could have literally, just listen to this. And I'll leave on this note. Canelo and Golden Boy, when he knocked out, or no, not knocked out, excuse me. When he beat Julio Cesar Chavez, all of a sudden they had this like Stone Cold type music come on, and Golovkin walked out and got in the ring. Boom, boom, boom. Done deal. Done deal. So that let me know right then and there that this was behind closed doors, negotiated and signed on top of Canelo having to face Chavez Jr. So it was signed under the pretense that if Canelo got past Chavez Jr., he was facing Golovkin, because there's no way Chavez Jr. loses and they announce it, and then moments later Golovkin's walking out and they got in the ring. Like, look, I could show y'all. Canelo Gennady Golovkin announced after Julio Cesar. Watch, because Canelo had a blue shirt on. I remember the whole thing. See, look. See, my memory crazy. So this was immediately after the Chavez Jr. performance. Canelo was talking to Max Kellerman, and then Abel Sanchez and Golovkin were in the ring, and it was announced. So to me, that's proof that they can plan Canelo. See, look, here's another picture from it, because I remember the whole day, and they had a little like mini press conference. So this is proof right then and there that they could have done this type of thing. Hey, let's negotiate with Kovalev that if contingent on beating Anthony Yarde, we'll fight him. And then they could have done stuff like this, so you could hurry up and start the promotion, send the fighters in the training camp, and then it wouldn't have been a problem. But it just seems super half-assed with DAZN and Golden Boy what they're doing, because I just showed you there's 9 weeks until the fight, and it hasn't even been formally announced. It'll probably get announced maybe in the next couple of days. I don't know. It might get announced after this video is published, but it hasn't been announced. There's no press conference. Like 9 weeks is about the amount of time that you take for putting the fighters in training camp. Kovalev should be in training camp. He just got off after a hard fight, and you know, so he has like a horrible rest period, a quick turnaround. It just seems like so behind schedule, and I don't understand why they're doing it. Like I said, when Golovkin was next, they brought him in right after the Chavez Jr. fight. So behind closed doors, why didn't they negotiate with Kovalev, get him satisfied pay wise, right? Or just pay him from the beginning so he never fought Anthony Yarde, you know? And after he beat Yarde, have Kovalev and Canelo get in the ring, you know, send Canelo to Russia and announce the fight so you can get it cracking. But it's just like Canelo begged for the Mexican dates. Then for the last 2 years, he's given one of them up. And it's just been poor planning, piss poor planning from Golden Boy. That's my honest opinion. Been piss poor planning for Canelo. He's almost in the same boat. He got a little bit of time, but he literally has like 9.5 weeks, and the fight hasn't, at the time of recording this video, fight hasn't even been announced with Kovalev, you know? And I just don't think that's the method to stay the star of boxing, when you don't have time to promote. You don't have time to like get the fans invested. It just seems so rushed. I don't remember Floyd Mayweather's events feeling so rushed and feeling like we didn't know who he was fighting. And it was like, damn, it's only 6 weeks. That's how it was the first Canelo fight. It's just been like very suspenseful, you know? And that, to me, that shows like DAZN, maybe it's because they're a newcomer, they don't have everything like resolved, you know? It just doesn't look right. Canelo it was not like this previously, where Canelo's opponents, you didn't know who he's going to be fighting. And then, you know, you got a minimal amount of time. So I don't know why all of a sudden he signs with DAZN, and now it seems like, and you know, it maybe it's something because DAZN's paying him big money up front. You know, they're paying like a set schedule. So maybe it's made everyone lax. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to just sit up here and speculate on what it could be. But all I know is Canelo's supposed to be the biggest star, and the biggest star of boxing is supposed to have his fights boom, 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 announce to public, promote, and get it bracking, period. But I just feel like it's been a rush job for a minute now, you know, and it doesn't seem like they're ahead of schedule for whatever reason. So that's my unpacked thoughts. And then on top of it, like the main purpose of this video is, why are you competing with UFC 244, which you have Nate Diaz, a Mexican American? You know, you got two people who I know for a fact, if they go at each other, I don't know if they respect each other to the point where they won't go at each other, but they'll make more entertaining press conference for sure than Canelo Kovalev, because historically Canelo Kovalev, they're not ultimate showmen in terms of the theatrics. Canelo said he don't even like that type of hype shit. He does his talking in the ring. These two fight their ass off, but they're gonna have some quick jibs and like quips and you know, witty remarks and funny slide talk. Here we go, super necessary. Look, people are hyped from this, so I don't know. I get it. They listen to your boy Ego's advice, and now it's on 2 different billing cycles as to force you to buy Joshua Ruiz 2 on a separate, you know, billing cycle. But competing with this fight, I don't really understand the logic of that. And once again, I use Mayweather because Canelo's supposed to be boxing's version of a cash cow that Mayweather left that void when he retired. And his fights seem like they're ill prepared and things like that. I never remember this with Mayweather. Like when in all of combat sports, it's like Dana White and shit. They knew to not put major cards that would conflict with Floyd Mayweather cards. That's just what it was. Like when Floyd was fighting in Vegas, you did not see major UFC cards with Conor McGregor on the same night. Stuff like that. You know, you didn't see like their bigger cards, Chris Weidman, you know, Luke Rockhold, or whoever was fighting. You didn't see their major cards on the same night as Floyd versus Canelo, because they bow down off the dates. So it's really weird that Golden Boy and DAZN and Team Canelo got Canelo competing with a fight like this that forces the fans to be split. You know, it doesn't make any sense to me. And then the matchup itself is cool, but it's kind of weird, you know, just based on we've seen Kovalev at his most vulnerable. He's, as I mentioned, he's only a few fights removed from, he's two performances with Buddy McGirt removed from being knocked out. So, you know, I don't know. And the reason I care about it and them doing these long like unpacks and stuff, because I care to fix boxing. I want the message out. I want people to like make decisions that benefit. I'm trying to grow the sport of boxing, and I feel like we're trying to win. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to win, and I don't see how that's a winning formula to go against big cards and split the fans. And you know, we're trying to gain casual fans and stuff like that. Canelo is a superstar. He's supposed to be the main guy fighting on the fight night. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be the main event that everyone's checking for, but I don't really feel like they put him in that position. And that's coming from a boxing guy who places other sports, especially UFC and stuff, secondary, you know? And that's just my opinion. We Unpacked, coming to you live. Let me know what you guys think. That's my truest thoughts. Drop it in the comment section. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.